U prethodnoj emisiji predstavili smo vam deo naučno-tehnološke infrastrukture koji area Naučni park u Trstu čini jedinstvenim mestom za razvoj inovacija. Videli ste kako izgleda početak izgradnje nove generacije sinhrotronskog postrojenja Elettra 2.0, koji će omogućiti detaljnije ispitivanja složenih materijala i bioloških struktura i to za narednih 30 godina. Predstavili smo vam FERMI, jedan od najsavremenijih lasera slobodnih elektrona na svetu, koji omogućava istraživačima da u realnom vremenu proučavaju molekulske i atomske procese, što je ključno za razumevanje hemijskih reakcija, razvoj kvantnih tehnologija i proučavanje složenih bioloških fenomena. Konačno, zavirili smo i u Laboratoriju za elektronsku mikroskopiju specijalizovanu za naprednu karakterizaciju materijala, koja obezbeđuje istraživanja na nanonivou. Danas vam predstavljamo veliki data centar i projekte koji se razvijaju u Laboratoriji za data inženjering. Saznaćete kako se koriste napredne tehnologije za obradu velike količine podataka i sa kojim ciljem.
LADE is the Laboratory of Data Engineering based at our Science Park in Trieste, and it has one heart but three souls. We used to say like that because we maintain an HPC infrastructure called Orfeo that you can see at my back, which is focused on analyzing a large amount of data coming from genomics, so for biological applications. And lately, it has incorporated also a huge amount of computational infrastructure to process data with artificial intelligence. So at the moment, we have a large amount of storage consisting in petabytes of information, and we have 5 DGX workstation that allow us to employ the state-of-the-art models in artificial intelligence. More than that, LADE also focuses on organizing data workflows coming from several experimental facilities, mostly in the realm of life sciences and material sciences. So basically, we have a part of the lab that is focused on curating data that is incoming from these facilities, organizing it so that we can very smoothly apply algorithms of artificial intelligence on those type of data. In particular, we organize and we started a master in data management and curation that is devoted to instruct and teach and build the new figures of the future that will take care about data incoming into our data center. But perhaps most importantly, our research is focused on developing cutting-edge AI algorithms.
Alesio Insuini je teorijski fizičar koji radi na konstruisanju modela veštačke inteligencije za istraživanje retkih bolesti.
The most important projects we are working in is about the support to diagnose of rare diseases. They are rare, but they are many. And we know more or less 10,000. This is the order of magnitude of different rare diseases. So you can understand, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. But here the problem is more complex because you have different types of needles. And this is a fascinating subject for artificial intelligence. Let's say I want to make, let's say, a metaphor, okay? And for example, if we are looking at the movie, you see the video, the pictures, you hear the sound. But in your mind, you integrate these kind of signals, different types of signals, in a unique perception. And this is exactly at the heart of what we want to do in this topic. We have different signals that come from different modalities, such as images and texts. I want to create a kind of a merge of this information, because you could have weak signals in each one of these modalities, but then when they are joined together, they create a more robust signals that can be detected and put more evidence to what you are looking for. And this also is important for another aspect that is so typical of this topic. Many times we don't know where to look. In a general case, for this kind of diseases, you don't know exactly what are the kind of signals that you need, the type of exams that you need to detect and to make a correct diagnosis. So this advocates for the possibility to have access to all possible data for all possible modalities. It can be images, the results of analysis, electrophysiological signals, or videos, for example, in the case of echocardiograms. We don't know. But of course, genetic analysis too, because the major role to diagnose these diseases is played by genetic analysis. And so this is very important to have access to all possible data, because if you don't know where to look, basically you have to look everywhere.
Rano otkrivanje retkih bolesti uz pomoć veštačke inteligencije je samo jedan od brojnih primjera upotrebe novih tehnologija radi sticanja važnih saznanja.
Sticking to life sciences, we worked quite intensively to try to understand, using artificial intelligence, what is the impact of mutations in proteins, and in particular proteins that are relevant for viral infections. So what does it happen when we change one single amino acid of a protein to its stability and its function? We do that using artificial intelligence, and in particular models that are based and are traditionally used for language. But in this case, words are amino acids of proteins and sentences are proteins themselves.
Zahvaljujući najsavremenijoj istraživačkoj infrastrukturi, naučnici su u mogućnosti da koriste napredne tehnologije radi sticanja znanja iz velikog broja podataka. Skladištenje i obrada podataka povereni su Orfeo data centru koji upravlja i analizira naučne podatke koristeći pristup otvorenog koda.
Our data center is for sure a regional player. It has definitely a role in the region of Friuli Venezia Giulia, both for storing and processing data coming from, for instance, from hospitals or other collaborators and from the universities and other institutions. But we are very much involved, especially recently, in two projects that are at national level, funded by PNRR, one concerning life sciences and one concerning material sciences. And furthermore, we collaborate in several European initiatives, especially concerning open data, and especially making sure that laboratories that collect data from across Europe can make them interoperable and to foster more and more collaborations across Europe and in general around the world.
Zahvaljujući tako naprednoj infrastrukturi, Area naučni park je domaćin brojnim inovativnim kompanijama. Jedna od njih je Indo, spin-off kompanija Međunarodne škole za napredne studije SISA. Ova kompanija je donela revoluciju u stvaranju sintetičkih podataka uz pomoć veštačke inteligencije, uspostavljajući ravnotežu između poštovanja privatnosti i dostupnosti podataka za sigurnu i kvalitetnu analizu.
The main problem that we are trying to solve is the access to personal data. The access to personal data in Europe is difficult because, of course, you need to protect the privacy of people, and there is a regulation to protect the privacy of people, which is the GDPR regulation. But, of course, it's undeniable that the regulation hinders efficient use of data for scientific purposes or even improve healthcare system. So if you could use data better, also the general public would benefit. So in order to solve this problem, we are using this synthetic data technique. The synthetic data is a technique to take a real data set and to transform it into a data that's composed of, let's say, fake people. So these aren't real people anymore, but it's still a good data set for performing statistical analysis. So, for example, if I have a data set of admissions into first aid of an hospital, and maybe in this set of admission there is my admission because I went for some reason into first aid, if I synthesize that data set, in the synthetic version you wouldn't be able to find my record anymore. It wouldn't be possible for anyone to know why I went to the hospital to receive first aid. But if I gave this synthetic data to an analyst, he could be able to perform an analysis like what are the typical reasons why a male goes to first aid, what are the typical reasons a female goes to first aid, and maybe a person of my age, what are the typical reasons. So it's good still for statistical analysis, but the privacy of the people that went to first aid, in this case, is protected. So we are trying to get the best of both worlds, respecting privacy, but also allowing this data to be analyzed for research purposes.
Pokretači inovativnih kompanija, kao što je ova za pravljenje sintetičkih podataka, dolaze iz vrhunskih obrazovnih institucija kao što je SISA, Međunarodna škola za napredne studije. Međunarodna škola za napredne studije fizike, neuronauka i matematike deo je državnog univerziteta, ima status centra izvrsnosti i školuje isključivo studente doktorskih i postdoktorskih studija.
SISA is an international institution. It's an academic institution. It does a PhD. It's within the academic Italian system. It's called one of the special schools, which means that there's a subset of Italian universities that are supposed to be particularly research intensive and meant for students that need more stimuli, that are particularly motivated. Our experience with students coming from Serbia, from the Balkans in general, is that not only they have a good background, a scientific background, but they are particularly motivated, and this is very important. I remember many entrance examination for Serbian students. One in particular, Marko Simonovic, who I was in the committee, and it was clear since the beginning how much he was prepared, but most of all how much he wanted, and the humility and the motivation he had, and we thought it was a good investment to train him. After the PhD, he went to Princeton, which is the most famous institution is Einstein's institution in the US. Then he went to CERN, which is a European temple of particle physics. Now he's a professor in Florence. And this is an important example. We really want to admit the students only on the basis of merit. So we consider ourselves a social lift in a sense. My parents never went to university, and I had the opportunity because the Italian system, in this case SISA, offered the opportunity to anybody just based on merit to have a career.
Dunja Dugonjić je završila osnovne i master studije na Biološkom fakultetu u Beogradu. Sada je na 4-godišnjim doktorskim studijama u Međunarodnoj školi za napredne studije i jedna je od najmlađih u svojoj grupi.
Ja sam želela da završim praktični deo master rada negde u inostranstvu i volim pastu i picu, pa sam ukucala na internetu Italija neuronauke i sama sam slala e-mailove profesorima dok nisam našla, nisam išla preko nekog programa i tako sam našla ovaj institut i prijavila se da radim praktični deo. I svidelo mi se ovde i onda sam aplicirala i za doktorat koji sam počela u novembru.
Koliko sam shvatila, 2 puta si aplicirala i to iz dobrog razloga.
Da, pa prvi put sam aplicirala baš kad sam radila praktični deo mastera, ali sam tada još uvijek bila master student i bilo je teško prihvatiti master studenta. Tako da sam se onda iste godine, nakon što sam završila master studije, aplicirala sam ponovo. Odradila sam isti set intervjua, njima je to bilo jako simpatično i vidjeli su mnogo entuzijazma i rešenosti da dođem u institut i onda su me prihvatili drugi put i eto, sad sam ovdje.
Ti imaš samo 24 godine i ovdje spadaš u mlađe doktorante.
Jeste. Kod nas primetila sam da nakon što se završi molekularna biologija, nekako se potencira da se odmah krene na doktorat, ali ovdje u Italiji i u Evropi generalno oni prave tako pauze i malo oduže, tako da su doktoranti ovdje obično stariji, seniori i zato su prvi put i tražili nekog iskusnijeg seniora, a ne master studenta. Tako da, jeste, ovdje sam među mlađima zapravo.
U laboratoriji smo vidjeli studente sa svih strana sveta. Prosto, kakvo je tvoje neposredno okruženje?
Pa, meni se mnogo sviđa moje okruženje. Upoznala sam ljude iz raznih delova sveta i kada pričamo, primećujemo koliko imamo nekih sličnosti, ali i nekih potpuno ogromnih razlika, a opet imamo toliko zajedničkih tema i možemo lepo da komuniciramo. Družimo se svi van instituta i imam jednog drugara iz Kine, jednog iz Turske, iz raznih delova sveta i lepo je da tako kombinujemo, kako vi kažete ovo, kako ono, tako da lepo je svakako.
Između 30 i 40% studenata doktorskih i postdoktorskih studija dolazi iz drugih zemalja, a čak 80% profesora angažovanih u posljednjih 5 godina je iz inostranstva ili se vratilo u Italiju posle stečenog međunarodnog iskustva.
In SISA, we are research intensive in specific fields, in particular in physics, mathematics, and neuroscience. And myself, I'm a physicist, and I'm on the theory side of physics, so I'm a theoretical particle physics, and I study the fundamental bricks making up matter, the fundamental laws underlying everything we know, how the universe works, how it was born, how it evolved. And as many of us, I had experiences around the world. After the PhD in Italy, I went to University of Oxford, FERMI lab in Chicago, CERN in Switzerland, and I gathered some experience, and I was glad to come back to Italy.
I'm now a professor of theoretical physics at the International School for Advanced Study SISA in Trieste, and I was before a professor of astrostatistics at Imperial College London, where I spent 15 years of my professional and personal life. So my job, despite being theoretical physics, is very much to do with data, and I study the universe using big data coming from telescopes in space, on the ground, everywhere around the world, and particularly I use machine learning, a form of artificial intelligence, to understand the deep mysteries that still surround us in the cosmos. For example, what is dark matter? What is dark energy? How did the Big Bang start? What will be the future and the destiny of the universe? And we can do this now using very complex and very vast amount of data, and increasingly we use artificial intelligence to try to distill knowledge out of all of this big data that we are gathering from all over the world.
I'm a professor here at SISA in Trieste, and I lead the research group that works on neural networks, on the theory of neural networks. And yeah, my path, so I was born in Germany. I have a German father, a French mother. I grew up there, and then I studied physics in England, and then I did a PhD in Germany, still on physics, but then I got interested in learning and in neural networks in particular, and I did a research fellowship, a postdoc in Paris, and then in 2020 I came here to start my own group. SISA for me was very appealing because at the time, so in around 2020, SISA already took this initiative of creating a whole sort of department centered on data science. So together with me, there were several other professors who were recruited, who were working on different topics at the intersection always of machine learning and the sciences, so physics, biology. So that was appealing to me, so we could start a whole PhD program, train students. And then CISA has, a lot of research of very high quality, also in topics that are maybe adjacent to learning. So there's a very good neuroscience department here at CISA, and so I regularly also talk to my neuroscientific colleagues about learning, about neural networks, about all these things. So it's a very stimulating environment.
Međunarodno stimulativno okruženje i otvorenost za institucionalnu saradnju ovu Međunarodnu školu za napredne studije čini mestom izvrsnosti, iako broji relativno mali broj studenata, oko 300 na doktorskim i oko 130 istraživača na postdoktorskim studijama.
My name is Paul Heppenstall. I was originally from England. I did my PhD in Edinburgh, in Scotland. I then moved to Berlin. I spent 10 years in Berlin. I then moved to Rome, spent 10 years in Rome, and I've been here in Trieste for the last 5 years as a professor. Our course is a course in neurobiology, and we're part of the area of neuroscience. And we're interested in biological aspects that allow our brain and our peripheral nervous system to work. And there are 5 groups, 5 professors working in neurobiology, each of us doing different research. And we're a postgraduate course, so we're teaching PhD students. My group itself, my research, is concerned with something called gene therapy. And what we're trying to do is to correct faults in genes and thereby cure diseases. So traditionally we've tried to cure diseases by giving small molecules, drugs, which often just work on the symptoms. But what we're trying to do with gene therapy is to change the genes which cause the disease. And so one of the biggest challenges in gene therapy is to deliver these things inside cells. And that's basically what my lab nowadays does. We're just trying to develop methods to deliver genetic material inside cells, so DNA and RNA. And to do that, we actually use viruses. So viruses which we've engineered so that they're no longer infective and they no longer cause harm, and we can use them instead for good. So this is basically what we're working on.
Ja sam na odseku za neurobiologiju. Konkretno, moj projekat je fokusiran na genskoj terapiji. Još uvek nije fokusiran mnogo za neurobiologiju, ali idemo ka tome. Trenutno radim na papiloma virusima, odnosno kako možemo da modifikujemo te papiloma viruse, koje inače znamo kao viruse, a nešto loše, neki zlikovci u priči, da ih modifikujemo i da napravimo sintetičke verzije, da ih koristimo sada u našu korist, da igraju u našu korist, da budu dobri likovi u priči i da ih koristimo kao neke poštare koje će donesu terapeutske gene u bolesne ćelije koje imaju mutirane gene. Za razliku od klasičnih terapija koje uglavnom leče simptome, genska terapija leči uzrok. Tako da je vrlo perspektivna i vrlo, rekla bih, buduća tehnologija. Ali za sada ona se razvija još od nekih 90-ih godina. Više se razvija posljednjih 10 do 15 godina i u primjeni stvarno je pokazana kao efikasna za lečenje neuroloških poremećaja ili retkih naslednih bolesti, pogotovo kod dece. I ako se primjeni na vrijeme, pokazuje izuzetne efekte. Naprimjer, kod spinalne mišićne atrofije, kod nekih vrsta slepila, kod leukemije, tako da se pokazuje i doprinos i imunoterapijama protiv raka.
I think eventually most of our medicines will be based upon gene therapy. At the moment it's going through an enormous growth phase. Many people are very interested in it, many groups are working on it. There are a lot of safety concerns that we have to address. But I think within 10 or 20 years, most of our medicines will be based upon this. And this is why a lot of the big pharmaceutical companies are investing a lot of money into this. But of course, I would say that because that's what I work on. But I think in terms of traditionally our medicines have been based upon chemicals. And we're sort of running out of ideas with that. But by being able to directly edit or change the genes within our body for the good, I think this is the way that things will go in the future.
Pa ovdje vole da podele nauku na akademsku i na primenjenu. ja više idem trenutno ka toj nekoj primenjenoj nauci, s obzirom da radim na konkretnom inženjeringu, ali nikad se ne zna. Uvek može da se ide iz jednog u drugi. Trenutno me privlači samo da učim što više o temi, pa ćemo vidjeti gde me odvede. Volela bi uvek da proširim svoje znanje, da nadopunim svoje znanje i na postdoktorskim studijama negde drugde i naravno volela bih da se vratim kasnije u Srbiju i da sve što sam stekla da primenim i da doprinesem nauci u Srbiji.
Neuronauke, fizika i matematika su osnovne 3 oblasti koje se razvijaju u ovoj prestižnoj instituciji, ali osim primenjenih, ovde se rade i vrlo aktuelna fundamentalna istraživanja.
So what we're basically trying to understand is neural networks, they're networks of neurons, right? So they're huge objects, but they're built of many sort of small individual units, which are kind of inspired by the nerve cells in our brain, the neurons. That's where the name comes from. And so in a sense, if you want to understand what a neural network does, what you need to understand is how these many small individual neurons interact with each other and sort of collectively come to a conclusion, no? And so in physics, this is a problem that often appears, okay? So in physics, you often have the problem that, you know maybe precisely how a single molecule of water behaves, but then you need to understand, okay, what is a collective property of many of these atoms, right? What's the temperature of water? What is its pressure, right? What is its density? And so bridging these scales, from very small atomic particles to whole materials, that's something that people do in statistical physics, and they've developed all kinds of tools to do that, mathematical tools, conceptual tools. And we basically take these tools and we try to apply them to neural networks, right? Because it's very easy to describe sort of mathematically, for example, what a single neuron does. What is not so easy is to explain how, if I put, millions or even billions of neurons together, how can they work together to solve very complex tasks? Last year we got a very big grant from the European Union to study precisely these kind of questions. These grants are called ERC, so they give you funding for 5 years, and so with this funding I'll be able to hire postdocs or research associates, students, and with them we're going to work precisely on these kind of questions that I just discussed. And for the students, it's also a nice opportunity to get some training and then either pursue careers in academia, but also in industry. I'm very excited about this.
Međunarodna škola za napredne studije, SISA, poznata je ne samo po vrhunskim istraživanjima, već i po snažnoj posvećenosti popularizaciji nauke. Ova ustanova razvija posebne studijske programe koji imaju za cilj da povežu nauku i humanističku kulturu, približavajući složene teme široj javnosti. Profesor Roberto Trota, priznati komunikator nauke, prepoznat je i van akademskih krugova. Autor je više zapaženih naučno-popularnih knjiga iz oblasti kosmologije, kroz koje širu publiku uvodi u tajne svemira.
Doing science communication for me has always been part of the job of a scientist, because I believe that most of our jobs are paid for by taxpayer money, and so we have to give back some of the excitement and also of the privilege, let's be honest about it, that we have in being able to dedicate our lives to very abstract or difficult concepts like the Big Bang or dark matter, dark energy, which, while far away, are topics and ideas that really excite the public at large. And so to me it's very important to be able to have this conversation, to share the excitement of cutting-edge scientific research. So in my last book called Starborn, I essentially rediscovered the influence of stars and the study of stars on the history of humankind, from prehistory, in fact, all the way to artificial intelligence. I uncovered the many ways in which the observation and the study of the heavenly bodies have changed the world, have really made us who we are in a way that is so often surprising and most of the time unsuspected. So it's a way to rekindling, if you like, this deep relationship that we've always had with the stars, and which now is kind of getting lost because, of course, we don't see the stars anymore due to light pollution, satellite mega constellations. And so to find again that relationship with the cosmos around us, I think is a powerful call for also being able to kind of decide which future do we want as a civilization living on a planet that is now a unique planet for all of us, and we're losing sight of that. And so that's really important to reconnect, I think, with our cosmic origins and our cosmic environment.
Trst nam je još jednom pokazao da nauka nije samo potraga za odgovorima, već prostor gde se budućnost gradi znanjem, saradnjom i strašću za otkrivanjem.
In Trieste we have quite a unique system of scientific institutions, not only because there are very many of them, but because it's articulated and diverse in scientific goals. And not only it's pretty united, so we have a strong and good collaboration with each other. All this together, the scientific profile of the institutions, diversity of the institutions, the collaborations, the cultural spirit of Trieste, the geographical location, I think it makes system, the Trieste system an interesting place.
I stigli smo do kraja našeg obilaska naučnih institucija ovde u Trstu. Do sledećeg putovanja kroz budućnost nauke i tehnologije, prijatno i doviđenja.